wonderful day. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope that you're having a great morning. I got up this morning kind of early, so I thought I would come in and have a conversation with you guys about some stuff that was on my mind. As you all know, I'm a finance professor, and I like to talk about economics. And every topic that I bring up, believe it or not, always circles back to economics. And so today I wanted to talk about something that you've all seen. Maybe you can let me know if you've seen this, but there's been a lot of conversation about Nick Cannon, Cam Newton, and what I call baby mama-itis. Baby mama-itis, in case you don't know, it's worse than the virus that we had 2 years ago. It's a pandemic where literally we just for whatever reason as a community we don't have a lot of fathers in the homes for whatever reason. Again, there's enough blame to go around. I'm not here to play the blame game, but I am here to say that one of the big challenges that the Black community has, give me a yes if you agree with this, is that we don't have enough fathers in the houses with our kids. And there are people that want to say it's because the men are doing this and the men are doing that. There are other people who say it's because the women are doing this and the women are doing that. I'm not here to participate in the blame game with you because I don't think the blame game is going to solve the problem. One thing I learned, I used to teach math at the University of Kentucky. And one thing I learned about a math problem is that you cannot solve a problem by whining about it. I also learned that you can't solve a problem by blaming other people for the existence of that problem. So if you're here to just blame and whine and moan and complain, I'm not really your guy. I like to kind of figure things out and kind of sort of at least analyze and break things down so we can understand this. Give me a yes if you agree. Also, give me a yes if you can hear me. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Hello, my name is Corey. Hello, James McPherson. Good morning to you. And hello to everybody on TikTok. I'm actually live on TikTok. If you look me up, I'm Boyce Watkins. I have about 36,000 followers on TikTok. So make sure you follow the right TikTok because apparently there's about 70 fake Boyce Watkins accounts on TikTok. I cannot stop them all. It's terrible. So anyway, all right. So we're about to do our financial consciousness training a little bit. So I'm gonna be very quick with this. But how many of you saw? Let me know if you noticed this. If you did see what was going on with Cam and Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon has a lot of kids. I don't know how many. I think it's like 10 or maybe 12 or something. And I know Cam has 8. And Cam wants to have more, and so apparently they're in this rabbit race where they both want to have as many kids as they can. And maybe for these guys, it's all about legacy, and I don't know what kind of legacy that's going to look like one way or the other. Unfortunately, because kids they don't just stay cute little babies; they grow up into these adults who have reflections, and they sometimes have righteous anger at you for not being there in their lives, and you can't always control it. So I don't know what kind of legacy that creates because I almost feel like a legacy with children is like a trust. If you know anything about a trust, anybody know about how trusts work? If you ever form a trust, I went to InvestFest this week. I talked to a brother from a tycoon, his group called Tycoons. He's a real cool guy. And I remember he said that he talks about trusts a lot. And he talks to people about the fact that having a trust is not enough. You got to put assets in the trust. If you have a trust and you don't put anything in it, then the trust doesn't have value. It's like having an empty bucket. And so I almost think that children are kind of the same way. A lot of people have children because they want to have legacy, right? I want to reproduce and leave, my mark on the world and all that. But children have to be poured into. Children have to be invested in, just like you do with the trust. Let me know if you get what I'm saying. And I don't know if we completely understand that. I think we kind of think you can just go and get it in and make the baby, and then that kind of creates the legacy. Well, it doesn't work that way. Just like with the trust, it doesn't work that way with the child. If you have a child and you don't pour into the child, then the child will not reflect you. The child will not represent you well. The child will not like you. The child will want nothing to do with you. Take it from a person who had a father who was not involved. I don't represent my father who donated the sperm. I represent my father who donated his life. You understand? I don't represent the man who gave birth to me, so to speak. I represent the man who made me into a man. You understand? I don't know much about my father, but I do know my daddy real well. Right. So that's something I think that's really important to understand. I think so with Cam and Nick, if I were talking to these guys, that's what I would advise them on. Is I'd say, man, just make sure you understand that when you go make all these kids, you are going to make the financial contribution. They're going to make you pay that child support 100%. You're going to pay a lot of it because you're rich. But then when another man moves in that house, pay attention. Let me know if you're following this. Another man moves in that house and he's pouring into the asset that you did not pour into. He's putting assets in the trust. He's filling the bucket that you did not fill. Well, then guess what? When that child grows up and you say, who are you loyal to? Are you loyal to the man who paid bills and gave life to you? Or are you loyal to the man who gave you time, the man who came to your football camp, the man who came to your ballet recital? That's the man that kids are going to be loyal to. Let me know if you know what I'm talking about. I really think that this is important to kind of understand. So anyway, I'm not here to criticize what Cam and Nick are doing. I'm just not. And in fact, I actually have a couple points to make. But before I make the points, I need to make sure we can agree to disagree. Give me a yes if we can agree to disagree. Give me a yes if I can say things and we can still love each other. Give me a yes because I come from academia. In academia, you don't get offended when somebody disagrees with you. You don't cuss them out and call them an SOB. You just say, oh, okay, well, I don't agree with you, but here's what I think, right? Let me know if we can do this because the world is so full of extremists and people like, I hate you and, oh, you capping for so-and-so and you must be a Trump supporter and all this, right? So free thinking is not really encouraged in society, but I'm encouraged in this space. So I hope that you can agree with me. Give me a yes if that's all right for me to do this. So here's where I'm going to go with this. Hit the thumbs up button, please, if you can. Please hit the thumbs up button. I completely understand where these guys are coming from to a point. I also understand where women are coming from. When I hear people, women and men, but it's mostly women, to be honest with you. Dr. Bryant, there's a lady named Dr. Bryant who basically broke Cam Newton down pretty good and said, you're creating all these broken homes, all these houses, these empty houses. and then one day you're going to get married, you're going to create a home. And then all these kids that you just sort of dropped into these women's houses are going to be mad. They're going to have resentment because they're not included in the privilege of having a father, right? And I thought that she was on point. I tend to agree with that philosophy. That is how I think as well. I think that a man should be thoughtful about where he spreads his seed. I would not let just any woman carry my seed and carry my baby. I just wouldn't do that. At the same time, let's just be real for a minute. Can we be real? Here's the deal. Cam Newton and Nick Cannon are two incredibly wealthy guys. Nick is definitely, I think Cam is. I assume he kept his NFL money. They're both tall, handsome. They have a lot of options. And they're probably in their 30s, maybe. And the challenge is that marriage is difficult. Marriage is hard. Marriage, as much as we want to romanticize it, like everybody thinks that your whole marriage is going to be like the wedding day. So many people come into marriage with a fantasy like, oh, it's going to be wonderful. We got to love each other every day. Marriage ain't like that. Marriage is gritty, grimy, hard. You got to love through a lot of stuff. You got to really be committed to the idea and you got to really be committed to the person. That's why divorce rates are so high. And if you can't do that, it's like starting a marathon. If you can't finish the marathon, if you're not prepared for the pain, extreme pain of running 26 miles that day, why would you even try to run mile one? There's so many people who get into the marathon of marriage and they're sprinters. A sprinter can't run a marathon. Noah Lyles is the fastest sprinter on the planet. He's the fastest human being on earth. He could not run a marathon if his life depended on it. Sha'Carri Richardson, fastest woman since FloJo, could not run a marathon if she had to because she's a different kind of runner. Right. And so what happens with marriage a lot of times is it doesn't work, I think, in this country because we have a lot of people that are sprinters that say, oh, I can run a marathon too. Doop-de-doop-de-doo. No training, no preparation, no nothing. Didn't get a chance to see. You got to understand my parents, I watched them stay married 50 years. My parents are celebrating their 50th year anniversary. And by the way, they will be at the All Black National Convention celebrating their anniversary. We're gonna, I'm gonna bring that up at the convention if you join us there in Chicago, October 25th. And let me just tell you, it was not a fairy tale. It was hard. The amount of forgiveness they had to have for each other far exceeds what most people can really do. Seriously, if you're trying to be married and be politically correct, you're going to mess it up. It's not going to work for you. And let me explain. And it goes, I think, in both directions with men and women. So here's what I see happening right now. And this is why, as much as I might easily be able to critique what Nick and Cam are doing, I can also give grace and understand it to a point. So here's what's happening. A lot of men are just afraid, legitimately afraid of marriage. Cam was honest. Cam said that my fear of divorce exceeds my desire to get married. And what he's basically saying is this. He's like, look, I'm rich. I got 10 women that I can reach out to anytime I want to have some company. I don't really feel like I need nothing right now. It's my body, my choice. He's being a feminist right now. He's being a feminist. My body, my choice. I'm gonna do what I want. Just like the feminists use that same language, and when they use that language, we cheer them on. Do we not? Do we not? Do we not cheer on women when they say my body, my choice? If I want to get rid of your baby, I can. If I want to get a divorce, then some people celebrate. I heard a celebrity literally there was a lady, Tia, what's her name or whatever. She got a divorce and she was like, I felt like it was like kind of a graduation, because I get to know me and myself and I get to find out about me. And it's like, well, what about the kids? You didn't even talk about the effect of the kids. Are your kids happy that you got a divorce too? How do they feel? Well, the kids are happy. They're fine. But did you ask them? See what you don't understand. See, here's what I want to propose. Tell me if you can relate to this idea, or at least hear it. I'm going to propose that what you're seeing with Nick and Cam in what could be defined as selfish behavior is definitely anti-family. They're not interested in building a family. They're not interested in giving up the comfortable life they have for the pursuit of the challenges of marriage and family. I think that they're kind of being the male version of what a feminist is. When you not all feminists. I'm not talking about all feminism. I'm talking about that extreme feminism where you see a lot of decisions get made that get cheered on that are not very pro-family. I mean, pay attention like this. If you want to accuse Cam Newton and Nick Cannon of creating a bunch of broken families, if you want to do that, then that means you also have to consider that perhaps the women, the millions of women who ask for divorces on a regular basis, lots of women ask for divorces. Am I right or am I right? Most divorces are requested by women. You also have to say, well, they're creating broken families too. Now, of course, they're going to come back and they're going to say, well, no, I had to because he did this and he did that. I was physically abused. I was emotionally abused. And I hear all that. I hear all of that. It sucks, right? Physical abuse, especially. I know somebody who's actually killed by her husband. So I'm completely sensitive to that. I completely get that. But then you get into the areas where it's like, well, we just grew apart and he was emotionally abusive and nobody really asks, like nobody really says like, well, what does that really mean? Because I've seen relationships where somebody claims the man was emotionally abusive and I'll be like, no, he seems like a nice guy. He told me that he's willing to do anything to be with you. So where's all this emotional, so my point is not to say that it's not valid. But what I'm saying is that women are not the only ones who have valid reasons to break up a family. Can we at least agree on that? Can we at least agree that if you believe that it's valid for a woman to say, I broke up my family because I felt like this, then why is it not equally valid? Why can it not be equally valid for a man to say, I broke up my family because I felt like that? Why is it that men are not allowed the same rights as women when it comes to relationships? I know y'all want to say, well, it's not the same. It's not the same. No, 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 it is the same. Men are human too. Men have feelings too. I see so much commentary about the pain that women go through and women telling their story and sharing their truth, and everyone cheers that on. How often do you see men getting cheered on for sharing their truth? How often do you see men who say, gosh, I was, my wife left or she put me out of the house. I couldn't wake up with my kids anymore. I started drinking. I became suicidal. My life was miserable. How many people have sensitivity to that? Do y'all at least hear what I'm saying? Can you at least hear what I'm saying? Because I don't think as a society we talk about that. We don't talk about the pain that men go through when the breakup happens. Women have a whole vocabulary of language they can use. Like I see somebody's using gaslighting, demeaning, intimidation. See, what you don't understand is that women can do all that shit too. We live in it. Do we not have a society that works toward equality? Do we not? Do we not? Give me a yes or no. Yes or no. Do we have a society that is working toward equality for men and women? Yes or no? You about to we have a very high likelihood of electing a woman as president. So that is done under the fundamental assumption that men and women are equally capable. That a woman can be president just like a man. Well, guess what? A woman can be emotionally abusive just like a man. A woman can be. I have seen women, that black women, white women, whatever, you engage in tremendous amounts of emotional abuse of men, And no one will talk about that. No one will bring that up. Everybody wants to talk about what women go through, but nobody talks about what men go through. So I'm not saying that Cam and Nick are doing what I would do. I'm not saying that I agree with that. Obviously, they're not doing what I would do because I no, I didn't go make 10 babies, and because I don't want to pay all that child support first off, and if I do make kids, I want to pour into them, right? I'm not having no more kids, you know. So I get that. I get their right to do what they want to do, but what I'm saying is that even though I wouldn't do what they're doing, I personally think that you should probably try to understand why they feel that way as opposed to just criticizing it. You know, I'm just going to tell y'all the honest to God truth. A lot of men fear marriage because they see their friends walk into this building called marriage, and the friends come out emasculated, busted up, disgusted, sad, depressed, broke. And again, sure, you want, you know, and here's the crazy part. Here's what makes it even more traumatic. My wife is a therapist, and shout out to all smart black women. I love my wife, and she's very, very smart, and I love learning from her. We don't agree on everything, but I love to learn from her. And one thing that she said about trauma, pay attention now, is she said trauma is typically worse when you go through a bad experience and you can't process it in a space where you're truly being heard and truly understood. So when you're a man and you are traumatized, you are sad, you used to wake up every morning and see your 4-year-old daughter, and now you can't because some your marriage broke down and your wife told you to leave, and then you're trying to talk about why how you're very very sad. What's the first thing that happens? Well, let's say that you did something wrong. Let's say you broke a rule, you cheated or something, or your wife claims you were emotionally abusive, or you didn't give her enough attention. Well, first thing people are going to do a lot of times is blame you for your trauma. They're going to say, well, if you didn't want to be traumatized, then you would have acted better, you would have behaved better. So imagine if every time a woman went through something terrible, imagine if every time a woman was violated or something bad happened to her, and then somebody said, well, you know, that wouldn't have happened to you if you had behaved right, if you had not had such a short skirt on that day, or if you hadn't done it, so my point is to say, I think we're just missing the conversation. I think that it's like if you have a product, let's say the product is marriage. You have a product you're trying to sell. You're trying to sell young guys on marriage. And the customer says, I don't think I want that product. And you can respond either by learning why they don't want the product, like what's going on, what's happening here, or you can be just say, well, f you, you're stupid, you obviously can't see a good product when it's put in front of you, you obviously don't know like what it means to get good value, you dumbass. Like you could do it, take the Roland Martin approach. He calls everybody a dumbass who disagrees with him instead of trying to understand why the customer won't buy the product. So for some people, men and women, it's not just men actually, it's not just men. For some people, they look at marriage and they say, I don't think I want that product because marriage in America is a little bit different from other parts in the world. And what I really believe to the core of my soul, and it's not politically correct for me to say this, is I don't think that we have, when I look at the marriage I saw that lasted 50 years with my parents, um, we don't give each other enough grace. Men and women don't give each other enough grace. We don't give enough capacity for forgiveness. Everybody's selfish as shit. I think feminism, a lot of it, some of it's built around selfishness. It's about how you feel and you finding yourself and you being happy. And if that's how you feel, then that's fine. The family may not be for you. Because what I've learned about family, at least my approach when it comes to family or working together with other people or collaboration on any project, any situation, is that it really comes down to being able to put your own feelings to the side for the sake of the collective. And that is something that's really not that popular because what happens is that we have so much ego that people will make fun of you for doing that. Like if you're a man and you say, I love my wife, I'm going to roll out the red carpet for her, I'm going to be there for her, I'm going to put up with her shit, I'm going to, love her through it, I'm going to be patient as hell and push myself to be as patient as possible. People will call you a simp. There are guys that will call you a simp. And then when you're a woman and you say, I don't want to disrespect men. I want to talk to men in a way that they feel good. I don't want to interrupt a man when he's speaking. I learned from my daddy how to talk to a man. Well, what do women do? Other women will bully you. Other women will say, oh, you're just a pick me. You're just a dumb little pick me. And the thing about it is that the so-called simps and pick me's are the ones who have healthy relationships. The ones who walk in with their chest out, ego first, don't usually succeed. So I'm not saying that that you have to change who you are. I'm just saying if you walk in with ego, then just don't do it. Don't don't try it because you're just gonna fail, and then your life will be worse. If you can't um if you can't have the patience and emotional maturity to and then just the technical understanding of what's required to tolerate a situation that's probably going to be fundamentally uncomfortable at times, then you probably are just best off not trying. So with Cam and Nick, the reason I'm okay with these two guys not getting married is because if you think about it, with the mindset that they have, celebrities are a little bit spoiled. They kind of get whatever they want. They can just snap their fingers and things can happen. So if they got that mindset, marriage doesn't really always work with that with that sort of perspective. So why ask them to do something that they're probably not going to be very successful at? And why also tell them that because they're not willing to do things the way you want them to do it, they don't deserve the right to reproduce? I think that's fundamentally problematic because we don't do that to women. When a woman says, I don't want to put up with no man stuff, I don't want to depend on no man, I want to go have a baby by myself or whatever, because I still want to have a baby. I just don't want to necessarily marry a man in order to do it. We cheer that on. Then why can't you cheer on Nick and Cam? I cheer on anybody who knows who they are and lives their truth. That's just my perspective. So I hope it's okay that I say that and we don't hate each other, because that's not my goal. When I talk like this, sometimes I piss people off because I know I present ideas that are different from what people are used to. But one thing I can tell you is that this is because I've had a PhD for over 20 something years. That doesn't mean I'm better than you or anything like that. It just means I think a lot. And when you think a lot, your complex ideas come to mind and you start questioning things. You question everything. Every assumption that's made, you start to question it. And if you want to know if this is a financial conversation, like why I, as a finance professor, would talk about this, is two reasons. One, because I'm not a finance professor who happens to be a black man. I am a black man who happens to be a finance professor. I'm black first, period. So anything that affects the black community, I'm always concerned about it as a human being, as a black man, as a husband, as a father, as a member of the community. These things concern me. So baby mama itis, I see the effects everywhere. I'm in Chicago. I see kids getting shot up and going to prison because ain't got no dad, dropping out of school. I hate all that. It bothers me. But then the second reason I bring it up is because this is a financial conversation. The lowest median net worth in America is that of a single mother with children. Did y'all know that? The lowest median net worth in America is a single mother with children. So your inability to construct families and reshape your disposition to fit into a family structure is costing you trillions of dollars every year. You just don't know it. You don't see it because it's in economics. We call that a shadow cost. A shadow cost is where it's like an opportunity cost. It's where you lost the money, but you didn't even know you had a chance to get the money, so you think that there was no money. Do you understand? Like you could have had this, but all you saw was that. So you're thinking that you're doing okay when really you're not okay, because you're a fraction of what you could have been if you had changed your perspective, right? So the cost of broken families is tremendous. Fathers who have lots of kids who are not named Nick Cannon, who making millions of dollars a year, are being financially devastated because of all that child support you pay. So your inability to control your penis, your lack of respect for where you plant your seed is really undermining your ability to build the kinds of empires that you'd like to build as a king. You can't be a king and build an adequate empire if you're not thoughtful about where the king plants his seed and really pouring into the investments that you make when it comes to human beings. So again, as a person who talks about investing all the time, most investments you make are not stocks, they're not bonds, it's not real estate, it's people. It's people. And if all I did was invest in your mama's vagina and then you popped out of it 9 months later and I somehow think I'm a king because I made a baby, then I'm dead wrong, because you got to pour into that child. A child is like starting a business to some extent. If you start a business and you don't pour into that business will not succeed. Tell me if you know what I'm talking about. That business is not going to make money. That business will never be profitable. You will never build any wealth in that business because you didn't even put no energy into the damn thing. You just started the marathon and didn't even run the first half a mile. Don't start the damn thing if you're not going to finish. You got to finish the job. Whatever the job is for you, whatever that means for you, you got to finish the job. And the maturity means that I'm not going to start something that I'm not going to finish. You don't want your life to be filled with a bunch of unfinished projects. And that's what I see when I see people making babies and being like, oh, look at me, I'm a dad, I'm a mom. And you didn't even spend 1 minute really studying like how to do this job properly. God gave you one of the most significant, most sacred decisions in your life, opportunities, and you throw it away. So that's it, man. I'm done. I gotta go actually because we're about to start our financial consciousness training. We do money in the morning every single day. It's an economic elevation class I do for free for anybody that wants to elevate their condition. My background is I'm a finance professor. I've taught at University of Kentucky, Indiana University, etc. I have fundamental ideas when it comes to wealth, Black wealth in particular, that I share with anybody who wants to get better. If you want to join us in the private Zoom, pull out your phone, text the word morning, MORNING, to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948, and I will send you an invitation to class. I'm going to send out the invitation in a couple of minutes if you're watching this live, and you can join us in class. So we're going to hop in literally 2 minutes. So I'm actually going to go. I just had to share this perspective. And again, I hope it was taken in the spirit it was intended. It was not a diss on Cam, not a diss on Nick, not a diss on anybody. Just really a matter of just kind of saying, let's really look at this thing and think it through and try to be smart instead of being reactive. Got it? All right. I hope that we can agree on that. All right. So anyway, have a good day. And by the way, some of you are asking about the All Black National Convention. That's going to be October 25th through the 27th. It's going to be in Chicago, Illinois. Lombard is a suburb of Chicago. So it's really going to be in the suburbs, but very close to Chicago. If you'd like to join us at the convention, billionaire Mike Roberts just agreed to join us this year. We got, a lot of other great people there, about 60 experts, and their number one goal is to solve problems for our people in our community so we can be better. If you are in that camp, if that is how you think, if that is who you are, then the convention's for you. Feel free to go to allblacknationalconvention.com. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Have a good day. God bless you, and I'll see you soon. Peace.